Welcome to the Julia and Gino podcast, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneurial life looks like from a family perspective. We are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro. Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Julia and Gino podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro.
Julia, how are we doing today?
Amazing, as usual.
We've got Eda and the white fox on today. So let me introduce Eda. Eda, by the way, your hair looks great. Curly hair. My wife, that's the first thing my wife said to Eda when we got on the call. And Nathan, you're rocking it too, bro. We're excited to be interviewing Nathan and Eda, the founders of Walldorf Capital Ventures. Nathan and Eda are passionate about helping people achieve financial freedom and generational wealth through secure, passive, and profitable real estate investments. Welcome to the Julia and Gino Show, Nathan and Eda.
Yeah, thank y'all for having us.
Pleasure being with y'all this afternoon. Thank you, guys.
This is an exciting podcast for me because I do love talking to couples that work together. And of course, you're into multifamily. And so my husband is thrilled about that because he's going to love this conversation. So it's good all around.
I win, she wins, win-win. This is the classic win-win. We're going to talk a little bit about multifamily and we're going to talk a little bit about relationships, working together with your spouse, communication. But I want to know, how did you guys get into multifamily? How was that decision made?
I think you should tell your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a great story.
Well, it's awesome. It was one of these nights I'm sitting there with my kids, kissing them goodnight. They're like, "Hey, Mama, will you read us a book?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I can't." And you can imagine what that feels like when you deny your child something as beautiful as just spending more time with them. And I went downstairs, a pile of papers, and I was exhausted. I had 3 or 4, 5 more hours worth of work. And I just was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is not sustainable. I'm trading my time for my money. And so real estate had been brewing in my head, and I started thinking about that. And I was like, well, maybe I should do that. So I actually went to Nathan and I was like, let's, be investors. And he was like, no.
I missed it the first time.
And I was like, okay, well, back to square one. What do we do? What do we do? And so then I started convincing myself again and trying to convince him and convince the world, when you have a premonition and you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so then I kind of kept after it. And one day I found this decrepit, horrible old house and we bought it. And so that was kind of like this aha moment. Here we go. And then after that project, I actually had a profit, and then it just kept going.
She remodeled it and we resold it.
Yeah, I made a profit. And then the next thing was like, all right, let's build a spec home. So we built a spec home. And the next thing is like, all right, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to get my designer's license. I'm going to get my commercial and residential general contractor's license. I was like, education all in. So for the next decade plus, I spent my time doing property management and just immersed full-time real estate investor. I loved it. Finally was doing what I loved. And so then we just kept talking. We're like, all right, we're ready to scale this thing. And so we decided we need to look at what's next. What can we do that will take us to the next level? So Nathan and I started talking. We're like, we should do multifamily investing. And so we're like, all right, let's find some of the best mentors in the nation. And so we went all in. That was the only way to do it. So we invested hundreds of thousands. We went in with the networks that all over the nation. We studied so much because we wanted to do it right, and we wanted to do it with the right people. And we became basically the experts on all things real estate. From there, we started growing, and we went from a small portfolio of properties that we managed to about 700 general partner units and about 2,000 plus limited partner units. And now we have over 100 million under management.
So what did you guys do beforehand? Were you both in the corporate world?
So I'm a residential realtor, I've been doing that, and I'm right on the cusp of being kind of full-time multifamily, but not quite there yet.
So Nathan, she had to convince you to be an investor, to be into real estate. I mean, come on, Nathan, you got to work with her. I mean, she saw the light and you're like, no, I do it all the time, but I don't really see it. She's got to go out and buy a crappy house to convince you, huh? Wow.
She did great. I think, there was a lot of mindset stuff for me to get over, like fear stuff to be able to take that leap that we've worked on for years, I think, since then. So some of it was that, and it's really, I think it took years later before I was like, wow, I'm on the wrong side of the transaction. I need to be on the owning side of the transaction is where you really make money, not on the realtor selling side.
So this would be a question that my wife would ask, but I need to ask this. This is like an emotional kind of communicate. Nathan, honestly, what was the thought that went in your mind when she asked you and told you we need to be investors? Let's be honest here, because this is a moment that a lot of our listeners, they come against. And when I told my wife I want to become financially free, I want to move to Florida, her first inclination wasn't like, let's do this. That's a great idea. She probably said, "Are you smoking
I said
something?"
okay. I actually said okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't like, let's do it. It wasn't like
listening knows that story.
It wasn't like, let's go do it. It's like, okay.
There was no excitement. That's true.
Yes,
that's true.
So what went through your mind?
Like a lot of couples, like one's usually the brakes and one's usually the gas. And Eda's definitely the gas. If you haven't noticed by like all the the GC license and all the stuff, the degrees she got, designer degree. So I think I was thinking, I don't know about that. I don't know if we have enough money, to do this. And I think I was thinking about the risks, and instead of thinking about, that's where my mind was, honestly, that time. It was on the risk rather than on the return.
Okay, so once you see things are working okay, how do you switch your mindset from the risk to the return and saying, okay, I'm all in. This makes sense to me now. When did that moment come for you?
That's a great question. I don't know. It's kind of years down the line as she kept basically. So what I did is I made money in real estate sales to pay all the bills, and kind of was like, let her invest and reinvest. So as the portfolio kept growing, and as she continued to be able to run properties successfully and really, turn a good profit, and wonderfully enough, turn profit, but not pay a lot of taxes on it. It's great, and slowly I started watching our net worth go up. And so I don't know if there was a definite moment in time, but it unfortunately, it took me too long. Let's put it that way.
So, Eda, this is before Julia jumps in here. I have to ask this question to you specifically.
Yeah.
Were you frustrated with him? Be honest. Like, were you like, bro, do you see?
No, and listen,
like,
I could answer that one.
No, and I want to be clear that part of why I share that tidbit with you all right now, and we were being super vulnerable here with you all and with your audience. Part of why I share that is because that's part of our story, and how we have grown together into the couple that we are, into the one-minded visionaries that we are. But it was a process, and it was our beautiful process. And always, all beautiful processes are a bit messy, can be, right? If they're real. And so because we're real people with real struggles and real obstacles in our minds, we experienced that. And I think that's that was part of what makes this like new partnership that we have together that much stronger. Because part of what I didn't share with you is that we work together. I worked with him as a realtor because I don't know if I mentioned, I got my license, and that was a disaster.
Yeah, we didn't do that very well.
And so when we did that, I knew I never want to work with my husband again. That's what I knew in my mind. And the fact that we're here now and we're giving it this other go, and our minds are literally completely changed, is the beauty of our process. It's the blessing that we get to share with the world.
And now I told my wife that she was going to ask the next question, but I need to jump in. I need to jump in right here because this is important. Yeah. Let's go back. And for the listeners, what mistakes did you make on that first go around as opposed to the next go around? And I'm thinking, well, Nathan's the expert realtor. What does Eda know? Because I've been doing this gig for a while. Now Eda comes along with an idea, and Nathan's like, this is not going to work because I'm in real estate. So let's talk about what those mistakes were early on. So maybe the listeners can avoid those or maybe use those and help create that relationship or that partnership
The
amongst
mistakes
themselves.
of like that made us working together not work. Is that what
Not-
you mean?
yeah.
Well, really, what changed? Because you worked
So-
together already, didn't work, and all of a sudden now it's working.
Yeah.
So what is
So,
different?
I mean, to piggyback on what she said, you don't know what you don't know. So I would say 12 plus years ago, we didn't know how much mindset stuff we needed to go through to get to the point of, I mean, when you're staring down raising equity, raising $13 million for a project, you got to have a good mindset to do that. Like that would scare the tar out of most people. So I would say, we make, as business people, we make goals for our business, but we never make goals for our family. And I think way back then, when we first worked together, we didn't make goals for how we were going to relate to one another, for how that business relationship was going to work. And to be honest, my failure was treating my wife more like an employee than a partner. And I would say this time around, we both got super excited about multifamily investing, and that's just been one of our commitments. Like, we're going to do this together, but we're going to do it in a way where we work in a healthy way together.
I never do that, Nathan. I never treat her like an employee. Never.
It's never happened. I don't even know what you're talking
Now,
about.
we're always working with one
It's all
another.
new
Right?
information to me.
Well, you know what it is? It's one of those things that I can just go turn to her and she can do anything for me. Like the studio, setting up the studio, ordering something, whatever it is. And sometimes I take that for granted. And there's so much that she does behind the scenes. And sometimes I should be able to say, hey, thank you, for doing that stuff.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
In the end all, I think it was a real God thing. Like, Eda's super sharp, and she really helped me grow my business. And it was a big loss for me to lose her, for her to go, yeah, I'm not doing this realtor thing anymore. I'm going to go invest. But it's sort of like, I think God created her to do that. I think that's the higher thing that God wanted her to do, and not be a realtor with me. So, in the end all, everything worked out the way it should have. But
Yes. And all the experience, I never say I regret, because all that experience brought you to where you are now. And I think that's so important. A lot of times we think about the regrets, and I should have done this, I should have done that, but it wouldn't have brought you to where you are. I love that you are so honest, because there are so many couples out there that are struggling. They want to work together. They want to do these things, but like you said, the personal development part is missing. And so they just go in as the business, as the business partners. And then their marriage is stressed, the relationship is stressed. Even if it's a friend that you're working with, that friendship is stressed. And so give us an idea of what personal development you worked on specifically, because that to me was huge. And I could tell you, with the two of us, that's what changed our relationship as well.
Yeah, personal development is, like, personally, I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
That's all. If I could do something full time besides real estate,
Yes.
and I do both at the same time, is just invest in myself, invest in becoming. My purpose in life is to become the best version of myself I possibly can, and encourage the people that I love to do the same. And so that's a thing in our family. We've been doing it for years. I don't know if y'all have heard of a seminar called Landmark Worldwide. Our children have done that. We've been to Tony Robbins. There have been some more less known conferences and trainings that we have done over the years. We're always doing something. In fact, we just this past December rented a cabin in the woods, just the four of us, our kids and the two of us, and we did 6 days of immersive Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins.
with our kids,
With our children, together as a family. And it was raw and it was messy, but it was beautiful. I mean, by the end of that journey, our kids would literally unprompted come up to us and say, thank you for investing in me and helping me grow and helping me have tools to live the most beautiful life that I can. I mean, that's paraphrased, but that's literally their heart. And that's what they shared with us. And like, we're all like, we do crazy stuff around here, like priming and jumping like Tony Robbins does. And, nobody looks at it like, what is she doing? Why is she being weird? I'm meditating, they get it, whatever we are doing, we're this like beautiful community where we just love and support each other. And I'm just so thankful for that. And it's like, it's something, when you were talking about, Julia, about not having regrets, one of the things that we have learned from Tony Robbins is something called effective blaming. And that's when you look back at a difficult situation and you can say, man, why did that person do that to me? That was horrible. Well, instead of doing that, you can go back and say, what did I become? How did I grow? How am I better because of that situation? So instead of me saying, Nathan, why were you not nice to me? I can say, thank you.
Or whatever.
Thank you for what that situation brought to us. Because if we hadn't had that interaction, then I wouldn't have gone out and started my own business, created my own company, started investing. And so it was actually a beautiful thing. And that's why we bring it up, because it's part of our story. Mm-hmm. And it's part of what makes us both who we are today and who we are as a couple.
I was having a conversation with a priest friend of mine last week, and we were talking about personal development, and he used a word that I thought was ideal. I think it's very relevant to what you two stand for as well. He called it human formation. And I think when it's personal development, it's personal. But when you're talking about human formation, you're forming yourself as a human, but you're also using the Lord for guidance, right? And I think that's truly important, because I'm always about personal development, getting better. But there's not really that much we can do without God in our lives. And I think we forget that, because sometimes we're that make it happen and we think we can do everything on our own. I mean, work is hard as you can depend on it, but pray and think about that. So I want everyone to think of themselves out there. Is it human formation? And the other word that we love to talk about is not really mindset, it's mind belief, right? Because a mindset, you can have it where it's, growth mindset, fixed mindset. We talk about that a lot. But if you have a mind belief that you believe you can do it, all of a sudden, Eda, you really displayed that. You said to yourself, I can do it. I'm going to go buy this crappy, decrepit house. Nathan doesn't believe in me. I believe I can do it. I made a profit. Then the second part, I believe I can do a spec home. Then the third part is I can do the construction company, get the GC license, and then I can go out and buy a multifamily, a small one, and then a bigger one, and then start syndicating and raising money. That really comes to mind belief. And I think if you can work on yourself as a human and start continuing to grow yourself, and then couple that with the mind belief of you believing it and having a partner that really you can lean on and that really holds you accountable, and that you're using them and having them help you. I mean, that is the recipe to becoming unstoppable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brandon Dawson calls it belief lids. I kind of like that analogy too, where it's like, here's your lid of how high you're thinking you can go, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just through us sitting together and setting goals, we've set huge goals, but it's actually really exciting. Mm-hmm. Set bigger goals than I'm used to setting. And I'm really excited about the direction we've got and where we're going to go with our business. So.
Nathan, I'm curious, you had said earlier that you were more cautious. You wanted more details, and your wife is go. And I feel like kind of like that's how we are. I'm always questioning everything he asks.
Yeah.
It is fun to question, I think. But are you still like that? Or have you changed in a sense? Or how have you changed since, when you first started working together?
Well, I'd say, like we were talking about, my belief lid's gotten higher. Yeah. It's hard to have a belief lid as high as hers, but I'll be real honest. So I'm hoping less so. I know less so than it used to be. But I think that, there's probably always going to be a little bit of that in us, where she maybe has a little more gas and I'm a little more brake. But it's part of working together. I don't know. It's I hate to call it the yin and the yang, but it kind of is something like that.
Right. I mean, it's a benefit, in my opinion, because you do need both sides. Because otherwise, you're just going to go blindly and take these crazy, chances. Yeah. Who knows where you end up? Or you're the other side, and you're always cautious, never making a step.
No, he's so good for me, because ever since I was a little girl, I've always been a dreamer. And I love dreaming. It's one of my favorite things to do, if not my favorite thing to do. And my dreams, like you said, are just huge. They're maybe unreasonable, somebody could say, but that's okay. Like it makes me happy to dream. And it would always scare him when I was dreaming, and this was something that we actually have worked on throughout our 23 years of marriage, is how do you listen to my dreams without thinking that I'm saying, let's go there tomorrow, but knowing that, this can be something we work towards, and we can, break down in bite-sized chunks and dream together.
Nathan, you had talked about the belief lids, you call them. There's a book, everybody, that I think you should all take a look at. It's called Mind Works. I think the author is Gary Vanderworm. We're going to be interviewing him in a few weeks, but he's got something called belief bubbles, and we call them limiting beliefs, where you're on your journey early on. I would caution and challenge everyone listening to this. What are your belief bubbles out there? Nathan's belief bubble was, I don't want to be an investor. And that's what it is. But then your belief bubbles, they start. Exactly. Yes, that's another belief bubble, right? And then what happens is, as you start to grow and you go down your journey, you start cautioning and you're looking at that from a different paradigm. All of a sudden, you made money in that house, and you're like, okay, let's see if we can do another deal. And the belief bubble expands. Whereas most of us, if we don't have a partner egging us on, you'd still be back at that space. Can you imagine yourself if you didn't have Eda there pushing you? So that's why, I mean, to be able to work with your spouse, I think is incredibly powerful, where you have each other to hold each other accountable. And I think that once you shatter that belief bubble, there's another belief bubble that's going to pop up. Well, I can't get into a 20 unit. I can't do that until you do it. Then the belief bubble is, I can't raise $6 million. Then you do it. Then the belief bubble is, I can't leave my job. And then you do it. It's constantly challenging those belief bubbles to get to the next belief bubble, because they'll all be there. You were talking about fear. You'll never overcome your fear. That's okay. We've got a 120 unit deal on the contract. I'm still a little afraid of doing a deal after, owning 1,500. Well, because you're not attached to it. You're not really. It's not part of your focus and your daily thing. So you and be, yes, you're killing me here. But that's I think everyone has to challenge themselves with their belief bubbles, and that's really important. And having somebody there to help you pop one, then all of a sudden, and that's why the personal development, the human formation is so important, because when you're sitting around and you're doing the same thing all the time, you're not challenging yourself, and you're not growing as a person, and you're not getting to that next challenge and that next step. I have no question, by the way. I'm just talking here. So Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jewel.
Awesome. No, I love this conversation, because, you took us from where you used to be, and you showed us the growth that you made, and even the incredible, the work you put in with your family, with your children. And that's kind of where I want to go, because it's part of the business, in a sense, because we include our children in the business. They unfortunately have 2 life coaches at home that they have to deal with all the time. They're like, Mom, please stop, please stop. just tell me what you want me to do, and that is a challenge for them. But
I say that too. I tell her to stop and just tell me what to do.
Just tell me. But I'm curious if because they're older. Did you say that they're teenagers and 20? So how do you incorporate them into your multifamily?
They're multifamily. So our oldest, I think he'd be fine with me telling this, but our oldest went to a college, Stony Brook, up near where y'all used to live. Discovered that like half the campus goes home on the weekend, and discovered he didn't want to stay there. So he came back to Chattanooga, and he actually worked with us for a semester and most of a summer. And it was actually really cool, because we were doing all this business training. And so we took him to everything we went to, like real life business training. You know how you go to college and you don't really learn stuff that helps you run a business at all, but you learn some skills, I guess. But so he got to do that with us. He went to networking events, and he went from like following us around to one of the last ones we went to. He was like, hey, I just met this guy. You got to meet him. And he'd go bring people to us. And they thought he was so cool. Some 19-year-old, he was still 19 then, talking to them about multifamily. And he'd been doing underwriting and stuff. Our youngest is only, he's now, he's about to turn 19, but I mean, he's still in high school. So he's watched it. That's about it. So. But he has done a lot of the mindset stuff with us, because COVID was hard on kids, especially high school kids. He had a lot of stuff to work through. Both of them did. And I really feel like, like we took, the youngest got to go to Date with Destiny last year and with Tony Robbins. And then he got to go to, I'm sorry, that was this year. Last year was what's it
Unleash
called?
the Power Within.
Yeah, Unleash
That
the
was in
Power,
21.
UPW.
Yeah, that was in
So,
21.
I mean, he's got life skills that most people don't get till they're 30,
Yeah.
or
40.
40.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to ask you, because that's important. We sometimes we work so much on ourselves, and
Yeah.
we're so focused on, making ourselves better and all this stuff, that we really do neglect the people living in our house. And,
Yeah.
even we're trying to work on our relationships. Yes, but it's really about us. And so then we have to, sometimes it's like, oh, so yeah, our oldest two, I kind of put them in life coach school first. So before they graduated college, they finished with that. And then my other kids, I think that's a good path for them, just to learn how to talk to people, how to listen to them,
Yeah.
and ask questions, because nobody teaches that. I mean, I could teach them, but someone else can teach them probably better than that. So I think that's so crucial to people.
Were your kids resistant to when you asked
No,
them?
because they saw the benefit. They saw the benefit in it. And I think that was the one thing. It wasn't like, here's what you have to do. Gino took the course, we saw the benefit. That's why I became one. They saw the benefit in me, and also how I talked to them, and like my mom and all the people in my life were like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And I said, look, take the course, And so my daughter, who went to youth ministry, she has a youth ministry degree. She's like, I actually learned more in this life coach than I did in college. And I said, I know that. I could have told you that already. So it's really important that we not only do, that personal development for ourselves and our relationships with our spouse, but also teach our children, because they have to learn these things too, because it does go both ways.
What's the future for you guys? What are you guys looking to do in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, really, I guess it's now our 9-year goal. It started as a 10-year, but we want to get up to 10,000 units in 10 years. And that's been pretty cool. So it's pushing us towards 1,000 units a year. We didn't quite hit that last year. I mean, the end of the year was weird because I think there just wasn't as much inventory hitting the market, because the multifamily market got hit like everybody, with interest rates going up so much.
Where did you pick that number? Just out of curiosity, did you just say, hey, I want to get 10,000? It's just something that I'm dreaming of, or is it some kind of income number?
That's the big dreamer. But I think it's very realistic.
No, we reversed engineered the numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we were like, all right, this is our income goal. So how many units is it going to take? And we broke it down, and that's where that number came from. Although I will tell you, I'm not above picking a number out of a hat and calling it, our goal. But that one we actually put a lot of thought into. So and we did it together.
A big, hairy, audacious goal, but I think what I've learned about goals, particularly in the last few years, is you pick a big goal and you really go after it, and at worst you fall a little short of it, but you've still done way more than you would have done. So
you got to push yourself. You got to walk into that fear a little bit. Just like I find myself in the habit of always being uncomfortable. And funny enough, when I'm uncomfortable, that's when I'm comfortable, if that makes any sense to you.
Absolutely. 100%.
The moment that I'm like sitting still.
You're doing what you're supposed to do. Yes.
Yeah. And so I think I'm just always challenging myself. Okay, I've kind of done this. How can I try something new, bigger, more rewarding, that brings more blessing to all involved? This expansive, growth. Like, it's not just about me. I mean, I'm sure you guys are a great example, what you do with your training. Yeah, you left restaurant, right? You were in the restaurant business.
Once you're in the restaurant business, it doesn't seem as if you ever leave it. It always lingers. Because every time you walk into a restaurant, you get the PTSD and you're like diagnosing, and this is what they could have done, and that's what they could have done. But I left it several years ago, and it was one of those things. It was a family business. I truly enjoyed it, truly loved it, but there was just some shortcomings. It wasn't allowing me the lifestyle that I could have. I wasn't able to, I want to say generational wealth, but I wasn't able to scale that business. And it was very hard. It was a difficult business, working on the weekends, working on the holidays. And that was my big why. And understanding that it wasn't aligned with my values really, really gave me the clarity.
I'm just going to put it out.
I still am a good cook.
You are a one dish wonder.
That's all is okay.
Kids call him a one dish wonder. He can make one dish like incredible.
I want to make one dish. I focus on it, and it's amazing. I got my backup. There's 6 kids there. 4 of them can make another dish. I got that one dish. It's amazing.
All of make another.
Yeah,
dish.
What is it? We want to try it.
No,
Anything.
anything he
Anything
makes,
I prepare,
but-
whether it's duck, whether it's lobster, whether it's scallops, whether it's picanha, I make that one dish
It's not
and it is
that often.
amazing.
It's not that often.
It's often enough. Okay.
But when he
That's
does,
awesome.
it's absolutely delicious.
Guys, where can the listeners get a hold of you? I want people to learn a little bit more about you and your business and what you guys do.
Yeah, so you can go to WalldorfCapitalVentures.com, and we've got a giveaway that it's more about multifamily, but it kind of helps you figure out. It kind of gives you next steps. So if somebody's thinking, so one of your listeners might be thinking about getting into multifamily, but they're on the fence. We've got a giveaway at the Wealth Building. Oh, I'm saying it wrong. Trifecta.com. Make sure you put in the D, or you're going to end up in some cryptocurrency guy's website.
So let me say that again. It's the Wealth Building Trifecta.com.
Yes. And, and we're offering a bonus. If somebody signs in today when the show comes out, we'll give them a free 30-minute session where we'll help them figure out their personalized goals. And figure out where they may want to go with multifamily. And I mean, what this is it's a 30-minute call to kind of help you get started. And what it does is help you map out your next steps, so you're not just lost, wondering how the heck you do this. And what this means is you'll be that much closer to that life of your dreams, and really to take your time back. That was a why for both of us. We wanted to take our time back.
Yeah.
And kind of build legacy wealth. So.
What is for the audience, what is your advice for couples that want to work together, but maybe thought of it like how you did in the beginning? Maybe they want to work together, but they, everyone else is telling them not to, because that's very common. So give them some words of wisdom.
I think be intentional. Like I wish looking back, and, we know it now, and God did what he was going to do with our lives, which is awesome. So I wish the first time we were thinking about working together that we had really set goals, and we actually have intentions now that we go through every morning. Like mine is to help you to be heard every day, and to look for one way that I can kind of help her feel supported that day in business. And mine is to help them feel listened to that day, heard. And also men need this, like they need sleep, like they need water, affirmation. Ladies, affirm the men. They need to hear it every day. And that is one of my biggest takeaways from our relationship. I didn't want to give that to him, and this is a relationship, right? So we're both doing things that are wrong. And, that looking back, we're like, where did I fail? Where did I withhold? And that was one of the things that I withheld amongst many, we're not going to get into
but that's
nitty
gritty. Mm-hmm. But I think rituals have really changed the way that we relate. I think rituals are super basic and important in any relationship. When you do things that are non-negotiable every day, and you get used to it, and you expect it, and you plan for it, it can change your entire day. So we wake up every morning, and we both have our morning rituals. We meditation, prayer. We
get our head in the right place.
Get intentions. We remind ourselves of our own intentions towards each other. We exercise, and then at night it's really cool. We do this 3 and 3, where we share with each other our 3 wins and the 3 things we want to win the next day. And so it gives us that mentality of we're winners, and we're looking for the positive things always that happen, because we're accountable to reporting back to each other at the end of the day. And then we're supporting each other for the things that we want to create the next day. So it's this beautiful kind of flow of just goodness between us, of encouragement. And I think if you can create that, just simple, sometimes we were talking to a gentleman yesterday at a networking event, And he was saying, you know, I want to work with my spouse, but I want to go to marriage counseling and I want to do this therapy thing. And I want to do, and he had all these grand, huge things that he felt he had to do before anything could happen. And then we shared with him these small little steps. I'm like, sometimes just doing the small things makes the biggest ripple, you know? And so I just would encourage people to, like, when you change, people around you change. And us changing and my changing in the way that I am acknowledge that my husband needs to be affirmed made a huge difference in our relationship.
And honestly, that me thinking every morning, like, how can I listen to her? How can I help her feel heard? Now, when we're not agreeing on something, on how we're going to go about something in business, it helps me like go, okay, I'm gonna back up and I'm just gonna let her talk and we're gonna figure this out. You know, I mean, I think that's been really helpful.
Yeah.
It's sort of like back in there, you know, in my subconscious, I guess, but it seems to be working.
I love the way you ended this, and you had a great couple minutes there. The only thing that I heard was my wife needs to tell me that I'm awesome every morning. That's the only thing I heard out of that 2 minutes. So make sure tomorrow morning when you wake up, you say, Gino, you are the best. You're awesome.
You can Slack and she can read it to you every day.
I do.
I got him a Slack that goes to
it.
the desk. It says, I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm going to do that. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to hear, Gino, you're awesome.
I do. I give them high fives throughout the day. Too.
Let me repeat the podcast, the link, I'm sorry, thewealthbuildingtrifecta.com.
Yes.
I want to thank the Silver Fox and Eda for being on the show today. Go and check out the website, Walldorf Capital. And we just want to thank you for being on the show. We want to thank the listeners. We hope you enjoyed the show. And Julia, any final words?
No, it was a great conversation. I love to hear your story, and I'm sure the listeners will really get a lot out of this because one of my favorite topics. So,
Oh, thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
guys.